Welcome back to AKC Style, the place for figure skaters who want to learn how to skate their hearts out, compete at their highest potential, and spend as much time practicing their inner work as they spend physically training on the ice. Let's get started. Welcome to episode 3 of your Mindset Reframe. Today, we're diving further into reasons why you're feeling stuck and reasons why you're feeling like you're in a slump right now. So it's important during this reframe process to figure out why you're feeling low and also what makes you feel uplifted too. So during this process, you're going to start finding patterns. You're going to start seeing things in your life a little differently, and you're going to also start creating a path towards your self-transformation. Now that seems really big, but that's the reason why you have to do this step by step, because you don't just transform everything about your life and who you are as a person and your mindset in a day. So it takes time, and you need to be able to feel this discomfort, which we'll talk about in a minute, and find ways to help you get through this process so that you can reframe your mindset. And in episode 1 and 2, we talked about routines and repetitions. We talked about things that you can do now to get unstuck, and then the questions that you should ask yourself during this process as well. So the first thing that I suggest doing is a thought tracker. So you might have started doing this since you listened to episode 1, and that's great. So we're going to talk about that. We need to dive deep into that today because now it's time to do some self-auditing. So as you're working through your mindset reframe, it's typical to feel a lot of discomfort, and you might even start to feel super frustrated too. That's totally normal, and it makes sense, right? Because you're doing an audit of your life. You have to go back and think about the things that were positive and the things that were negative. And if you're feeling stuck in your life, it's normal to feel like you have more negative than positive right now. So it also may bring up some feelings of anger. It might be kind of welling up in you. It might be even bubbling. And that's totally normal too. You just have to make sure that you don't let it bubble over. That's when things go a little crazy. So we're going to work through that together. And it's normal to feel all these things. Okay. So just know that. Now, good things are going to come up for you as well. So the good things will come up and the not so good things will come up too. And you're starting to see patterns take shape if you've been doing this since episode 1 with me. So we're going to look at the things, the people, and the places, both on the negative side of your thought tracker and the positive side of your thought tracker too. And if you want to know how to set that up, you can go back to episode 2 and it'll give you an idea if you haven't started one yet. So first, let's talk about the negative things that you may have thoughts about, that you may be seeing patterns of on your negative thought tracker side. So the first thing is people. This is your first kind of audit process. You might notice that you have people who complain a lot, people who drain your energy, people who cause you grief, and people who cause you a lot of stress. And those interactions that you have with them might be on your negative side of your thought tracker. That's normal as well. Now for places, you might start noticing that you have negative feelings after you leave a place. Like after you leave this location, whatever that location may be, you just feel so drained. Your energy level is low and you can't quite figure out why you can't get back to 100%. You might even feel like you're at 10% after this place because you're just so frustrated when you leave. And then the last thing in your audit for your negative thoughts are going to be your things. So this may be as simple as your phone. So there's a lot of reasons why your phone could be the thing that's negative in your thought tracker right now, whether it's for a day or a week, it doesn't matter. But let's just use a simple example that I think we can all relate to here. So like when you get home from work, you might grab your phone and say you just need to decompress for a little bit. So you start, you open up TikTok and you start scrolling. And maybe you start scrolling just to kind of unwind after work. You might close the app, you might not. Then it's time for you to make dinner. So you're still on TikTok while you're making dinner. Then you're on TikTok while you're eating dinner. Then you're still on it after dinner as you clean up the kitchen. And then you sit down, you're relaxing. So you still have TikTok on while the TV is also on in the background because, you need the ambiance, you need the noise. and you still are scrolling through TikTok. It's been hours. Now it's almost time to go to bed and you're still on TikTok because you're not quite tired. But really you are tired. You're physically tired. You worked a long day. You had a lot going on and you did need to decompress, which makes sense. But now it's been hours. So the fact that you've been on TikTok, you've been on your phone this whole time, you're too stimulated now to go to sleep. You're wide awake. And that happens a lot. I think that we can all relate to that. Next thing you know, it's midnight and you're still on TikTok. So the other thing too that happens with social media is like that doom scrolling. I think we can all relate to that too, where you feel like, all right, I'm going to be on here for a second. And the next thing you know, you just start scrolling. You're seeing things that are making you laugh. You're seeing things that might make you cry. You're seeing things that make you happy. You're seeing things you never heard of before, and you're finding something new. And then you go down a rabbit hole of searching, and then it's hours later. That happens a lot. I know that happens to me sometimes, and that's something that I think all of you can relate to as well. So with this audit of people, places, and things, you'll start to see the patterns that lead to these negative feelings, but you'll also see those same patterns in people, places, and things that lead to positive thoughts too. So it's not just the negative side. So let's look at people. People that make you happy, that give you energy. You leave them and you feel lighter. You feel good about yourself. You feel more like yourself after interacting with them. That's a huge hint as to like if you're able to put yourself in an environment that is good for you. And then speaking of environment, places. You might notice how excited you are to go to a certain location. And then you actually might be a little sad when it's time to leave that place. So if you wake up in the morning and you know like, oh my gosh, today's going to be a great day. I can't wait to go to X place. That's a positive. That's good. That's a good environment. And you should try to put more of that in your life. And then for things, your phone doesn't necessarily always have to be negative, but we're going to go with a different kind of example here. So let's say you want to start buying yourself fresh flowers every week. That's something that I started doing recently, and I find that it really brightens my day. Just like walking into your home and you have fresh flowers sitting in a pretty vase on your kitchen table, it really does lighten up your mood. It's something that's so small, and not all flowers are expensive, so it is something that you could budget for weekly if you need to do that. And it is something that can have a big impact on your mindset as well. Hey everyone, Ashley here. I hope you've been enjoying listening to these Reframe episodes as much as I've enjoyed recording them for you. And when I originally recorded episode 3, I was thinking this would be one long episode, but as I'm editing it, I'm realizing it's probably better for you if I chunk this episode 3 into parts. So what you've just been listening to is part 1, and I'll release part 2 next week. So in part 2, I'll give you another mini mindset assignment at the end of the episode, and we'll dive deeper into this whole reframe process that we've been talking about in part 1. So thank you again for tuning in, and I'll see you next week. Thanks so much for listening today. If you found this episode helpful, let me know in the comments, and be sure to give this video a big thumbs up. This helps other figure skaters discover my channel and also helps me decide what topics I should share with you next. Have fun out there, and I'll see you at the rink.